hello, wonderful people that have decided to join me today. Hello, and welcome to a brand new season of Transition Stories. This is season 3. Bloody hell, season 3. This is episode 1 of season 3, episode 25 overall, and I'm joined today by Ryan. Say hello, Ryan.
Hello, I'm Ryan Sinner. Thanks for having me, Phoebe.
Who the bloody hell are you? How did you get here? Why are you here today?
Just snuck in.
Hello. You want to chat? Yeah. But yes. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? But first, I'll tell everyone about me because I have to tell everyone about me. If you don't know who I am, then I am Phoebe DeRose. I'm the host of Transition Stories. I am a trans woman, and I run an interview series, which is this show where I interview non-cisgender people about gender identity, what it means to them, and today's guest is Ryan. So take it away, Ryan.
Hello, I'm Ryan Sinner. There's like a lot of places I can go with introducing myself. It's a struggle every time I have to write a bio on social media. So I kind of just go with artist, scientist, creator. I don't know. I'm just kind of here. And
I'm nerd.
A nerd, yeah, professional nerd. That's a good way to do it. I'm also, some of you might know me as the producer of the Transatlantic Call-In Show. That's hosted by Katie Montgomery and Arden Hart. And then some of you just might know me from my general social presence. So appreciate y'all coming out.
So it's lovely to have you here today. So why don't you tell everybody how on earth it ended up that you and I know each other? Because we know each other in a semi-professional manner, but it's because, for those of you who don't know, I am also a call screener. And the show that Ryan just mentioned, the Transatlantic Call-In Show, which is now on Thursday on the Line Network, #Shilling, which is hosted by Katie and Arden. I'm one of the call screeners for it, and we got chatting, and one thing led to another, and Ryan went, "Yeah, I'll do your show." And it's like, yeah, sounds wonderful. How's that lapel mic going?
It's going good. It's just I heard someone was like, boom, my voice. So my apologies. So gosh, it was like the beginning of 2021. I was randomly hit up by our mutual acquaintance friend person, Jimmy, and he wanted to have me as a graphic designer, creative director for the Sometimes show. And so we did that for several months. And then I kind of just slowly got pushed into doing more stuff with the YouTube channel, The Line. And so at some point I started talking to the volunteers more, and like a lot of people who are doing call screening, other people who like to help us do research. And Phoebe was one of those awesome, charismatic, helpful people. And Phoebe did a lot of call screening for the Transatlantic Call-In Show as well. So that is kind of how we got to know each other.
So we all know why you're here today. We're not here to talk about Transatlantic Call-In Show or call screening or things that we were talking about earlier. If I can just ask that you avoid touching the lapel mic because people are saying it's fairly loud, or the periodic table that we were chatting about before the show. We're here to talk about gender and gender identity. So what does it mean to you to be on a show talking about those issues for you? What does that mean to you today to be here on this show?
Oh, wow. So when I'm working with that show, just seeing all the different types of people who come to try to learn about come to learn or come to debate, but a lot of them are frustrated or confused by non-binary just in general. And so it's very gratifying seeing people ask these questions and then like try to learn, and just seeing more of the acceptance sort of coming around, like that means a lot to me. And then being able to come on here and kind of talk about that is like, it's one of the first times like I've had my voice out there to kind of talk about it because, you know, I'm usually just producing while other people are talking about being trans or just queerness in general and pronouns. Like I watch other people have to argue, it almost feels like on my behalf of they, them pronouns and how they are plural and it's just not grammatically correct. And
And when you say in the same, you say in the same breath, they shall not use they them pronouns as a singular because they are one person. It's like, oh, for goodness sakes!
It's like, you're literally doing it right now, sir, ma'am. Why are you mad? You just used it to. You proved my point in trying to disprove. Yeah, frustration.
Your point was disproved by you proving my point whilst you were trying to disprove my point. It's like.
It's mind-boggling, and I've seen it on Twitter plenty, and I'll reach out to people and be genuine and be like, hey, like, if you want to like argue about this, just send me whatever research that you've been reading, and I'll read it, and we can talk about it. And unfortunately, most people don't want to do that because they just want to yell into the void and like make people mad. But I've had people. I was talking to someone recently, and I was like, just like send me some peer-reviewed like research on like why you don't agree with this pronoun or why you don't think you're transphobic or whatever. And they'll send me screenshots of like the Google dictionary definition of like phobic. And they're like, see, I'm not irrationally scared of you. Or see, it's plural. And I'm like,
it depends on which dictionary you go with, because Merriam-Webster and the OED, and then you have the Cambridge Dictionary, and you've got these different dictionaries. It's like, and then I had somebody say, well, it's Wiktionary, so Wiktionary must be correct.
Yeah, it's frustrating because at some point I kind of just started to realize I'm like, I don't think people know what peer-reviewed means or what researching means. And I just live my day being aggravated all the time because everyone's like, do your own research. And they don't know how. So
you're here today because you define yourself as non-binary.
Correct.
So what does that phrase, non-binary, mean for you?
It means a lot, actually. I'd say going back to like the end of high school, I was like kind of starting to realize like, or at least learn more about gender and gender identity. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like gender fluid. Like some days I kind of just feel like this icky feeling in my stomach if I was wearing a shirt that was a little too low cut, or like I didn't like my hair being too long sometimes. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'm just that gender fluid thing. Like it kind of just changes. And around the same time, I was also getting really interested in just spectroscopy and science, like more towards the beginning of college. And I just loved how everything seemed to be on a spectrum, like electromagnetic spectrum, if you want to go with that. And then I kind of started to learn that gender is kind of on a spectrum and sexuality is. And then I started to just kind of realize like everything, literally everything's a spectrum. Like I don't think there's anything that's black and white anymore. And then the past couple years, like being introduced to more non-binary folks and people with different pronouns, mostly at my university and in the honors program, I was like, you know what? I kind of like that they, them thing. And I remember talking to some of these people, I'm like, oh yeah, the definition of like non-binary is literally like not black and white, like it's on a spectrum. And that's when I realized I was like, I was already preaching to everybody that everything's on a spectrum, and I didn't even realize that I myself am like on some kind of spectrum or even partially just removed from it. Some people like to argue that as well in terms of like their non-binariness. So I just kind of like pretend it's like a little bit of a slider, and that's like what that all means to me because it kind of connects to my scientific interests. It connects to like actual scientific studies on gender and sexuality and even just sex in general. Again, it's not black and white. It's not male or female. There's a lot of other chromosome combinations and stuff in there, and people just don't want to admit that. So, yeah.
So you say that you yourself view it as a spectrum. Do you see yourself moving around your own spectrum do you see yourself, or do you see the spectrum itself kind of moving, or how does the spectrum interact with you and your daily outlook?
You know, some days, like back when I was more identifying with like gender fluid, it literally just kind of felt like I'd wake up one morning and it's like a little slider or something, and on this side I'm like a little bit more like male or something, and then maybe one day I'm like over here, and then one day I'm in the middle and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening? Like, how do I express myself? Sometimes it still kind of feels like that. So I didn't know that a lot of these feelings I was having, especially when I was younger, and what I just stated earlier, I was like, oh, like I put on a dress today, or my shirt's too low cut, and now my stomach feels weird. I didn't realize I was experiencing dysphoria, like, since I was a kid. So, like, some days I will wake up and be like, you know what? Like, I can wear a skirt today, and that feels fine. And so I'd say, like, half of my time, I feel like I'm on this spectrum, like, male, female, somewhere in between. And sometimes I just feel completely removed, just off the spectrum. And I'm just like, hello, I'm existing. I don't have to explain anything because I don't even have my own words for it. I'm just here. I'm wearing clothes. I'm queer. Here and queer.
Here and everything that goes with that. So how have you found that you have explored your own personal identity whilst experiencing your own personal changes in your gender identity? How have those two things linked together for you?
Could you restate the question? My ADHD was just like,
so
what?
How has your personal development, your personal growth for you and understanding yourself been linked to you understanding and your fluidity and your gender spectrum investigations? How have that all worked together?
Okay, yeah. I'd say this was about the spring of 2019 is when I was starting to like kind of share with some of my friends, like just like funny stories about my past. And I was like, oh yeah, like half of you didn't even know like what my mom actually wanted to name me. And they're like, oh, like, what is it? I'm like, well, I was supposed to be named Ryan. And it's kind of funny because I was creating like a new character for a story and her name was Rhea. And my mom pointed that out like a year prior. And I was like, whoa, it's so weird. Like Rhea, Ryan, like, I like that. And then one of my friends, my good friends, Eric, was just like, do you want to be called Ryan? And I was like, I do, actually.
You can do that.
Yeah, I was like, I do want to go by Ryan. And we're all like out on a trip. We were all in Montana at the time, like presenting our theses at the Western Regional Honors Conference. And it was like already a super stressful time, but I was just like, the first time I had to stop and think about something that wasn't academic. And I was like, I had to think about me. And I was like, yeah, I think I would like that. And then a few months later, that's when someone was like, well, what are your pronouns? I was like, oh, I don't know, any. Like, I'm not sure I have a preference. Like, they, them sounds kind of cool. And they're like, do you want to be, you want they, them? And I was like, I think I do. It's like, it took people like actually asking me these questions because I seem to like never have time to ask myself these questions. And then not too far long, like after that, about a year, the pandemic started. And then all I had was free time. So I wasn't working at Pioneer Astronautics. I wasn't engineering things. I wasn't doing anything full time. And I was like losing my mind a little bit. But I had already kind of had a little bit of an intro of that introspection to like realize, oh, I do prefer being called Ryan. I do prefer they, them. And then I started to just think about myself more, think about my experiences and connections with other people in the world and myself. And I was like, it basically turned into like a year and a half of just therapy. Therapy was my part-time job. At some point, I think I had 2 different therapists. And it was like the first time I just really had time to like learn more about my own identity. And then a little bit past that, I'd say 9 months to present day, just kind of accepting my identity more and being more proud of it, and like shaving the sides of my head. I'm like, wow, this feels great. Like for one, it's not all up in my face and bothering me all the time. Like,
Not like my beautiful locks.
I know my hair used to be like that. Like, I could show you a graduation photo after this. My hair was just like down to here, and then as soon as I graduated, I was like, get rid of it. Like, I don't
Well,
see.
there goes that L'Oreal contract.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I'd say like maybe past 9 months to present, just not just questioning identity figured out. It's like I feel like I got it mostly figured out, and even if I have to do more introspection, it'll come easier now, and it's to the point where I feel confident in expressing myself out in the real world, because I didn't realize that I had been masking most of my life, also with connected with like my ADHD. And so like I finally came to terms with my ADHD and understood what that meant for my brain and how it's wired basically, and came to terms with my identity. And now things are just easier. And I just recently interviewed for a new engineering job. Like, I feel more confident just talking to people in general, because I just try to be my weird, awkward, anxious self. And it's just been better, like ever since I figured out my identity. So
you see, you went through a lot of therapy to understand
yeah.
what your gender identity meant for you specifically. What were the big surprises on that journey for you? And what were the things that you were just like, huh, I knew that all along, but I didn't realize it was this?
Yeah, like a little bit with the dysphoria thing. Like I was just saying, like I remember it was like kindergarten, like before the first grade, and my mom would have, like, it was a private school, so I'd have to wear like a jumper or a skirt, and she would do my hair up all nice, and it always like made my tummy feel sick, and I didn't understand why. I was just like, okay, going to school. And then she'd complain that I'd always come home just a complete wreck, covered in dirt. My hair was no longer all done up and cute with the barrettes and the colored hair ties and stuff. So that was one of the things where I was just like thinking back, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that checks out. And then there's kind of like an online joke, at least among like some of the gay, lesbian, bi communities, how like looking back at like different childhood shows or cartoons and stuff, it's like if you had crushes on these characters, that means you're gay now. And it's like, yeah, I definitely had more posters of girls and stuff on my walls than I ever did with the guys. I was like, why would I want them on my wall? They're not pretty to look at. So that was like another thing where just like looking back, I'm like, okay, yep, I'm not making this up. I'm not gaslighting myself. Like, it seems to have been a thing I just kept ignoring, be like, oh, it's a problem for another day. Yeah, those are a couple of those. I feel like I could remember more later on, probably.
So you mentioned gender dysphoria from a non-binary perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you it from a very binary perspective, and people in my chat can probably explain it from a binary perspective as well. But what does it mean to you as a non-binary individual when you talk about gender dysphoria? What does gender dysphoria from a non-binary perspective look like?
Yeah. So growing up AFAB and in a Catholic community, Catholic school and all that, it just, you wouldn't see a lot of queer folks. There was like notably like one lesbian in the choir that I know of. And even the church was like, meh, but like, you do your thing, whatever. They're a little hand wavy with it. So like, yeah, growing up AFAB, I was mostly experiencing it like with like the more feminine styles or things that society has decided is what girls wear. Again, just wearing dresses, skirts. Like if I showed my legs too much, like my shirt was too low cut, I would just get this disgusting feeling. I never knew what it meant. And sometimes it still happens. But in the past recent years, I was starting to experience gender dysphoria in the opposite way, because I just kind of always dressed a bit gender neutral or androgynous, just all through high school and college. And some days I'd wake up or just halfway through my day be like, God, I look too much like a man. Like, what's up with my face, my forehead? Like, this doesn't feel right either. Like some days I would even go out just wearing like a binder and a vest, and I'd feel fine like halfway through the day, and I'm like, oh God, I feel I'm uncomfy, my stomach hurts, like I don't understand what's happening. So like from a non-binary perspective, it was weird to experience dysphoria in kind of like both ways. So
two ends of what would be considered the dysphoria spectrum.
Yeah, and that's like something I'm still kind of figuring out a little bit with a couple friends of mine who are also non-binary, a few AFAB and a few AMAB. And we kind of just discuss these things a little bit, but I honestly haven't delved enough into the topic to understand all of it, because I was even telling my partner the other day, it's like sometimes I feel like I relate more to just... Some days it feels like I relate more to like a trans woman, and some days it feels like I relate more to like a trans man, and it's really confusing because it's like I'm neither.
Or are you both?
Or am I both? Like, and then there's like the whole thing. It's like, is non-binary trans, or is it not? And it's like, oh God, I never even thought about that.
But here's the question that I ask in relation to that: is, do you consider yourself to be a cisgendered person?
No.
Then therefore, the opposite of being cis is trans. So it's this large, wide spectrum that if you don't consider yourself to be a cisgendered person because you don't fit into that nice, neat box.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Like, I think that it was literally an episode of the Transatlantic where I think someone brought that up, and I was like, I'm sitting there producing, and I'm like, am I trans? like I learned so much from the show behind the scenes. Like, you guys don't even know. I'm like, I'm having a crisis right now.
Here's the thing, though. Just on that. When you're call screening on that show, you do have to screen out the kooks. You have to turn around to the absolute kooks that are spouting hokum going, yeah, I think that gender is made up by the dictionary people. Bye. Yeah, you know, those Jewish people, they're responsible for gender.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. And it can be very eye-opening to see just the range of diversity of opinion, shall we say, to be polite to these people, that goes on in some of these conversations. And the fact that I am very binary trans woman, you are very non-binary person, are living rent-free inside the heads of these people. And they are making all these assumptions about us, you know, drinking, you know, dictionaries and, you know, tearing up words, going, you can't have that word, you can't have that word, and you can't have that word, that word's bad. It's really quite extraordinary. And as a non-binary person, do you find that there is this level of misunderstanding that you get when you say to somebody, I am neither male or female, I am non-binary?
Yes. Yeah.
Add that out a bit. Adding on to that?
Yeah, I think even during like my job interview the other day, or it was actually after the job interview, like one of the recruiters went ahead and called me and was like, oh God, like, how was it? Like, tell me all about it. And, you know, I was just telling him my honest opinion. Like, I'm seeking somewhere that like will accept me and not have shitty bosses and stuff. And then he's like, okay, yeah, that's great. And we're also excited to have like more diversity on the team, like just having like another woman in STEM. And I'm like, I am not. No. Okay. You're not wrong. Diversity.
You're not right.
But you're also not right. And it's also weird because like coming from college when I still was just identifying mostly like as cisgender, and I was participating in all these women in STEM things. There's like lots of women in STEM scholarships and stuff. And I was just like, Now it's like, no, I'm not a woman in STEM necessarily. Like I am just a non-binary blob in STEM. But yeah, back to like just people wanting to argue like the semantics and the grammar and stuff. It's like a lot of them want to argue that this word can only mean one thing, and that's it. And I don't think a lot of them realize that the reason you're speaking English right now is because of like decades and centuries of languages slowly changing.
And slowly morphing
People,
into different things.
Yeah, people are more willing to add yeet to their vocabulary than like a new pronoun. And like they'll take all this slang and not argue against it, but like as soon as you say try to use they them as a singular or introduce a neo pronoun, they're like, no, absolutely not okay. The English language right here, there's laws that must be followed. And I'm like, where's your research? Like, do you know how language even evolves, sir? Like, what the heck? I keep saying sir because it's mostly these like dudes on the internet that I'm running into.
Which is very interesting because in the UK, it's mainly very angry, middle-class, middle-aged, white, academic women that are going, you're invading women's spaces. And it's like, you want chest feeding, not breastfeeding. You want pregnant people, not mothers. You want all this other nonsense. And it's just, it amazes me that you go across the pond to the wonders that are the United States of America, and it's like opposite land. It's like opposite land to the UK because all these angry men going, ooh, in the UK, it's all these angry men going, ooh. It's like,
yeah, it doesn't help that it's like I was already just growing up AFAB, like already had like a general wariness against just men in general, just based on my own experiences, based on my mother's experiences, my friends' experiences, and then it's just like, am I safe anywhere? Like, I recall I was driving. I'm sorry.
Or is nowhere safe? Because you're there. Nowhere safe.
I like that. I'll take that.
I'm here now. Nowhere's safe.
It's just I recall I was spontaneously. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go drive to Wisconsin and visit my pen pal. And I was reaching like the northeastern part of Colorado, and slowly you're just watching the signs on the side of the road just get more and more religiously aggressive and right wing. Like there was literally a giant sign about half the height of my apartment building that just said, "God bless Trump." And I'm like, I'm not safe here. I needed to stop for gas soon. And I'm like, I don't think I look really queer, and I don't think I should continue this road trip. Yeah, honestly, I might as well have. And yeah, so I ended up turning around, even though I was about 2.5 hours out, and just booking a plane ticket because I figured all those states I was going to be driving through, I didn't want to deal with that.
Colorado, Utah. You've got a Nebraska in there, I think, if I'm going the right way.
I think I would have gone through Nebraska next. Yeah.
Or you could have gone up to Wyoming if you wanted to be, a masochist, and then gone over to Montana. But you would have had to hit the Dakotas at some point.
Yeah, I haven't been to the Dakotas yet.
I haven't been to Wisconsin. I've been to Minnesota once in my life. I went to the Mall of America once in my life, and that was an experience because the Mall of America was just like everything Americana in one place, because it has a Sea Life Center and a theme park inside.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I've been
enormous. And I'll tell you this: I love this story because I went up to this sports bar. And there I am. I'm incredibly British, if you couldn't tell from this accent. And I'm sat in a sports bar, I'm wearing a pair of jeans. I've got my hair quite tightly back. I think I've got this jacket on and stuff, and I've got like a briefcase type thing with me. And I sit down, and the girl in this Hooters was hitting on me. Pretty sure she was hitting on me. It was like, yeah, this is good fun. This is good fun. But it does make me go. I live in Britain, and I don't know that much about rural Middle America. So could you tell my audience and me a little bit about why you felt so uncomfortable in what is rural Middle America?
Yeah. So back when I was even just more cis presenting, like, and not even like in the big city parts of Colorado, like if you just, I have a couple friends who kind of live more east. And so typically those are places where I would not enter a bar because you're just instantly targeted. Like people have eyes on you, and like especially if you are female presenting or just attractive in any way, they slowly get closer. Sometimes it's touchy. I've been to like small shows where like the men all around me will be talking about like how hot the lead singer is and like yell at them to take off their shirt and then look at me and be like, oh wow, you look like the lead singer. And it's like, clearly there's lots of respect around here. But when I'm visiting friends like they're a little bit more in rural areas, man, it's somewhere between scary and aggravating. It's because these people typically don't travel. It seems that none of them have tried to understand other perspectives. They think they've done their research, and a lot of them are very right-wing and like I like to call them capitalist simps or billionaire simps, because for some reason they still strongly believe that, you know, people who like Trump or other just bad leaders actually care about them, and they think that trickle down economics works. And so they get stuck in this certain mindset, and for some reason that makes everything else political here, including, as you may know, vaccines. Like all of a sudden that's a big political issue instead of a scientific world health issue. And I was actually at a PowerPoint party last night, and my presentation was titled People I Hate and Why. And I had a big old slide just about the anti-vax, anti-mask thing. And it's like, why is it political? It shouldn't be political. But everything here in America, especially if it's rural America, is political. And it's not safe. And like at some point when I was working in like a kind of a richer town, that they liked to think that they were in a rural town. But I just called them all rich white cowboys, because none of them were actually working on farms, but they would dress that way. And they all had this same kind of like hateful attitude. And yeah, it's just all over the place. Like I don't even know if I have like the words to describe like how backwards and strange it is for your viewers and for you.
And so I thank you for explaining that, because it humanizes the difficulties that are out there in what people think is free America, middle America. That's not in the big cities, that's not attached to the coastline, that's not attached to the Canadian border. And do you ever, as a non-binary person, ever have feelings of not only not belonging, but feelings of genuine fear that just because you don't fit into the boxes, that it's going to cause you serious harm, not necessarily physically, but maybe in ways such as the way that you're served in a restaurant, the way that you're served at the gas station, the way that you are treated at, say, a toll booth or something? Does that ever play on your mind?
Yeah, actually. So like I do generally just kind of have anxiety, and a bit of it is kind of just tied to my ADHD, because things will suddenly get confusing and flustered and anxious. But because of that, like when I go places, like sometimes I'm totally fine and comfortable, because it's like, oh, it's this shop in downtown Denver and everyone down there is weird, and it's fine. But as soon as I like like I'll go try to check out like a small diner in the mountains because I'm already on a trip, and you know what? I love diners. I'm a sucker for a good American diner with like the crappy coffee and
Oh yeah,
some
crappy
biscuits and
coffee
gravy.
and pancakes that taste like you can't quite work out whether they use actual flour or they use
Yeah,
quick or something.
it's just something about the aesthetic that I like.
Yeah.
But like I'll go to some of these places and
I mean, personally, I do love a good diner myself. So I'm a sucker for a good diner myself.
yeah, yeah. But sometimes I'll go to these places and I feel the eyes on me. I see sometimes like somewhere between disdain and confusion on some people's faces. I haven't. I've only been like called out once, and that was actually in New Orleans, so that was a little bit different. But going back to your question, just like yeah, like I have felt like that worry and that fear. Like if I'm in a certain area and I have to go make a stop, like sometimes I can just feel the anxiety, and I'm like, oh God, like someone's gonna look at me and just know I'm queer, and that's not going to be generally as okay here. And usually it's the same places where you'll see people not wearing masks. So if I see a lot of folks not wearing masks, I don't feel safe because A, pandemic, and B, typically these people align politically or socially with other people who don't like queerness or don't accept it or understand it. And I've heard comments and whisperings before, but no one's physically confronted me yet. But that's all I'm anxious about is the confrontation because I'm just trying to exist. I'm just trying to like go to the grocery store real quick. Like
you just want to eat something, drink something.
Yeah, I'm hungry. I want a snack. Like,
why does it matter? My money is as good as anyone else's money. What does it matter? My money, your money is as good as my money. It shouldn't matter.
It's like why? Yeah. So I'll say yes. Like I do experience that fear and that anxiety a lot. Nothing has like quite happened, but I can't say that it won't, just because of the state of things. And there's places I just won't. I generally just don't want to travel to, like here in the U.S., because I just know it's unsafe for anyone who identifies as like LGBTQA. Like,
and you bring that up, and it does remind me of something that the British government said recently. They put out travel advice. So the Foreign Office of the British government put out travel advice that said if you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community, be careful in some parts of America. It's really not good in some parts of America. And this is like a country that's not known for being that great when it comes to LGBT issues, which is the UK, saying even we're going, you're a bit, hang on a second. But I'd like to thank you for sharing that because it was clearly quite emotional for you. But
yeah, sorry, I just kind of like with that, I guess. It's like to the point where even for medical documents or anything somewhat related to some kind of organization or the government, like where I'd be scared to share that I go by Ryan and that I'm non-binary. So it's like, do I check the box that says other? Or do I just lie to myself and them and say female? Because it's like, is this going to endanger me?
yes,
because like if history has shown anything, like if you sign your name on a list entering a synagogue, you might end up in a camp somewhere at some point. So it's like, and that's just how America feels. That's how America feels, honestly.
As I say, you hit something very close to home there, because as somebody who used to be very religiously Jewish and has Jewish heritage, I know that because of my existence as not just someone who is a trans woman, not just someone who is in a same-sex relationship, but because of my ethnicity as well, even though I may be incredibly white, I'm not seen as an equal white person by other white people, which is an incredible thing to say. because I have Jewish heritage and I was a
Yeah.
religiously Jewish person. And that is something that I can identify with very much with what you're saying. But moving on to more happy things in your life, what would you say that being non-binary has enabled you to achieve in your life? Has it like freed you up to go, this is who I am? Because I know your partner was there, and I'm assuming I apologize there if I.
He's also non-binary, but no pronoun preference at all.
So, but I will say he because I started, so I'll finish in the famous words of Magnus Magnusson and the Black Chair. He seemed to be just wonderful because we had a couple of sound issues beforehand. So how did it go when you and he, both being non-binary, came to be together? And how does it feel to be in a relationship with someone else who is non-binary?
It's neat because we can share wardrobe sometimes. I suppose he prefers to do some of this, like if he were to dress more femininely, just mostly around friends and stuff. He's not very, he doesn't like to express that publicly, probably for personal reasons and maybe some of the similar reasons that I have. People judge. But I think I was more coming to terms with my identity around the same time that our relationship started, actually. Our relationship started maybe a month or two after I started going by Ryan. And he's honestly just beyond me mentally, like whether it's my ADHD, underdeveloped frontal lobe or whatever, or he's just a very introspective person. But he's guided me a lot on this, or started having me ask these questions to myself. And that's where I slowly was becoming more understanding of myself and him, and I could just talk openly about it. I didn't feel like I could super talk openly about my gender, with certain friends. A friend of mine from college, we used to call him Gamma Ryan and I was Alpha Ryan, because we joked that he wasn't the Beta Ryan because he's Gamma, because he's just on a whole other frequency, because just always had way too much coffee. But
X-ray Ryan.
But I could tell he would not be the person to go to be like, hey, I'm non-binary and these are my pronouns. He'd be one of those people that'd be like, scientifically,
science this, biological this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I saw a lot of that just kind of in academia. But I met Christopher in college, through the honors program. We were already friends and just already someone I could trust. And so I was able to kind of explore these things with him and with our other close friends, who most of which are queer in one way or another. The honors program was very diverse, specifically. I don't know what was up with that. But that's where I was I had first even met people with they, them pronouns and all that. But yeah, back to what I was kind of saying, stopping with the tangents.
Tangents are cool.
Christopher's kind of the one that's kind of helped me guide myself in figuring this out. He's not going to be like, oh, here's the answers. I want you to learn the introspection yourself. And then slowly, eventually, I was able to kind of get it and a lot more mindful. And that in itself has helped progress me just as a human being significantly, because I was just so hyper focused on get the degree, do what society says, get the next degree, go get a job, capitalism. And he honestly just helped me open my eyes to that, because he'd already kind of figured out a lot of these things for himself. So it was really, I'm just super lucky that I ended up just at least getting close to him, whether or not it was the relationship or not, to be able to grow as a person. Because now that I'm a lot more understanding of myself and my identity and other people, I feel it's almost easier for me to just progress in my life now. Like I feel like with the pandemic and everything, like I had to make a stop. Like there's a full stop and everything, which ironically for years I was like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I just wish everything would stop. And then it did. And I was like, this is even more stressful. Yeah. It's like I have to think about me and not my studies.
I have to think about what's in these four walls and not the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. And now that he's kind of helped me with that, and we're like growing together and learning more about this stuff, just as a human, I feel like life is easier to approach. Like I feel a lot more confident about getting a new job in STEM, even though I thought I hated it because I was like, oh God, like I don't understand anything. Because I also didn't understand myself, and I was stressed and anxious all the time because I was masking all the time. And now that I've had that huge break, I was kind of able to reset with also just the right gender presentation and the right mindset. Now I feel like I'm kind of ready to do that. Like I do hate the concept of working full time. I think that's too much for anyone. I think we should all just be able to live our lives and not have to suffer to try to get food on our tables. That's a whole nother conversation. But now I feel a bit more prepared to go be authentic into these kinds of workspaces, because when I already have the stress of like, oh my God, what's everyone thinking of me? What's happening? And like, oh, am I doing this right? Like, am I dressed right? Like, do I look feminine enough? Do I like whatever? Like all those are just more back in the back of my head, or even just like behind me completely. They're not even in my head. They're over there. And I feel like I'm able to approach life better. So, whether Christopher was the catalyst for that, the pandemic, like, I don't know.
One half dozen of the other things.
Yeah.
So, if you could tell yourself, say 10 years ago, something today, what would you tell yourself today? That person 10 years ago. What would today's self, sorry, 10 years ago self say to you?
Well, 10 years ago self say to present to me, or present to me to 10 years ago
both.
self?
Both.
Okay. So what? God, it's 2022. So 10 years ago, 2012. All right. I was in high school, and a tough part of high school, actually. I was still trying to search for my identity. I think this is about when I started my scene phase. The big blonde, poofy, pink hair. That was a thing. So I think past me would probably look at me and be like, okay. I think trying to put myself into that old mindset, because I know I was just also very like dissociated. Everything was confusing. It was high school. People are shitty. Also, it was like rich white people who thought they were cowboys, but like couldn't have a piece of dirt on their cowboy boot.
Never seen a real horse in their life.
Yeah. I think past me would be impressed and surprised, because in 2012, I also didn't even consider being in STEM. Like I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I thought maybe I was going to be like a detective or something. Like I don't fucking know.
It's like a magnifying glass, and I go.
Yeah,
like very, very.
I was just like,
bang, just one more question.
Yeah, so I think past me would just be impressed, and then probably just have a lot of questions. Present me, if I were to go back and talk to that person, would say to invest in Bitcoin. Just kidding. Don't. Crypto is annoying. That's a whole other conversation.
You say that, but
yeah, maybe just like a different stock. Just invest right now.
Invest in something.
Yeah, I would just say, because ironically enough, a lot of my exposure to anything queer in general was through Tumblr, because that was like the only community I had. I didn't like a lot of social media. I didn't have a ton of friends. So I'd be like, okay, yeah, so you're on Tumblr right now. You're about to start learning about some of these things. Let me introduce you to some people. Go look at these websites over here. Like, go start reading about it instead of just kind of absorbing whatever the internet's saying. I feel like I did learn a lot, and was introduced to a lot of things through Tumblr, but not all of it was researched or authentic. Like I've had to unlearn a lot of things. So I'd prefer to like, if I could like have a little bit of a restart, I'd be like, hey, like, can you learn these things a little bit sooner? Because like you're gonna have some bad interpersonal conflict soon.
So, if there was one thing you wanted me to take away from our interview today, what would that one thing be that you'd want me to take away today about non-binary people? As me, a very binary trans, what would you want me to take away?
Oh goodness, it's like, I guess I just would want to share with anyone, like, definitions are not always the same. Don't send me screenshots of Google definitions to prove a point. Like for me, like my identity as a non-binary person is very much, like I said, like in my life, I've never experienced black and white, like binary, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So like you were saying that, you know, you're a binary person, you are a female, and
yes, that is me.
That's your truth. That's your definition of what you are. Just because I say that this is what non-binary is, it doesn't mean that's what it is everywhere to everyone. And I just want people to shut up and listen.
I think that is a fabulous place to end on, because I say that is why I do these shows. It is wonderful. I just want to listen, and I want people to be able to put themselves out there. So is there anything that you want to specifically talk about in the last 5 minutes of the show? Because this is the part of the show where I say to my guest, is there anything you specifically want to talk about that's close to your heart? And the floor is all yours.
Oh boy. I feel like I need to pull up my PowerPoint that I made for last night, because it's like I went off.
It's kind of talk about that PowerPoint if you like.
Yeah, that's fine with me. So for those who may have missed it, I attended a PowerPoint party last night, and it was like the people I hate and why. Those are the things actually I'm passionate about. So it's like, hi, I'm a space scientist. I'm a chemist. I'm a spectroscopist. I've worked at the Library of Congress, Pioneer Astronautics. Like, I've worked in astroparticle research, organic chemistry research. There's just things that people don't know and understand, and especially with Elon Musk, if that could be a point. I'm passionate about the science education. I'm passionate about LGBTQ education, and I'm passionate about feminism. That includes the T in LGBT, like putting that out there. Those are things that I'm very passionate about, and I plan at some point, hopefully, with this full-time job, I'll still have time to, against Musk, for those in the comments. Sorry, tangent, lost my point. He's out there being a billionaire and like being like, oh yes, rockets to space, but it's not actively educating anyone. I just see a bunch of billionaire simps being like, oh yes, Elon, he's the best. But yeah, he's wasting his money sending a stupid fucking car that still doesn't have auto drive into space, when what could have that, how much billions of dollars have gone towards in terms of like bettering humanity, bettering science. Like the progression of science like helps humanity in many ways. And unfortunately, that's also happened with like certain wars, like because all the scientists and everybody are hired to like go build something, and then for like the war, it ends up having like medical uses or like other scientific uses. And so I'm just passionate about like actually doing the science for the sake of science and for people, like sharing science and sharing LGBTQ stories for people to understand and learn, not for monetary gain. Like if we were doing all these things and in a perfect utopia world or whatever, like we would all benefit from these discoveries, and technological advances, not just one guy who also descended from racists. So
what did make me laugh, though, was that he wasn't the first person. Richard Branson beat him to it, and it made me laugh, going, "You weren't first. Some big 65-year-old British guy who used to run a music company, he beat you to it."
Yeah. So like I've made plenty of funny edits too of like Jeff Bezos with like his little shuttle thing. Like I think I made him wear it as a hat at some point. And yeah, I don't know.
I think the big difference that I have always found between Musk and Bezos, and then you have Branson and a different thing, is that Branson, you know that he's doing it just for himself. And you know he's doing it for it. He doesn't make any pretense, but when he was going in his hot air balloon around the world, you knew, hey, I'm doing this because I want to do this. He didn't make any pretense about saving the world or anything. And he said, space tourism? I do, because I want to go to space. He didn't make any bones about that. But if you speak like Musk or Bezos, oh, we're doing this to save humanity, it's like...
no...
Which is one of the things that I think distinguishes Branson slightly from the other two, is because he just goes, "Now I'm just some billionaire playboy that just does whatever I like," and it's just like,
that's better than, I guess, like Elon in that sense, because it's definitely for more monetary gain and clout and all this dumb crap. Which is why I frequently remind him that he's a disgrace to Nikola Tesla's name, because Nikola Tesla would fucking hate him.
Yes.
Like Nikola Tesla did all of his science stuff, not for monetary gain at all. In fact, he was very oblivious to a lot of these things, especially like JP Morgan back in the day. He did it for the sake of science and for the sake of getting things to help humanity. He's just like, I want to be able to transmit energy to people and help progress our lives. And but nobody seems to want to do that nowadays, and it's a little depressing. So that's another big thing I want y'all to leave off with. Maybe just join me in reminding Elon Musk frequently that he is a disgrace to Nikola Tesla.
I've worked it out. It's a beard. It's beards. If you've got a beard, it's slightly different to the ones without beard, because Bezos, Musk, no beard. Tesla had a beard. Branson has a beard. You know,
a nice mustache. Yeah,
it's a beard. It's a nice bit of facial hair. It must be something in the facial hair.
That's where they've stored their empathy and humanity,
or their truth. They're just going to say.
Yeah.
But yes, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you today, Ryan. So where can people find you on the internet, and what would you like people to find you most on the internet?
Okay. So my handle on basically most social media is @SadAndSpacey, which is scrolling at the bottom here. I think it's somewhere in the comments, probably in the description. Just remember it, because I'm sad because of Elon Musk, and I'm Spacey because of the ADHD and because I like space. Yeah. So I tweet nonsense, but if you want to check out my art, you can check out my Instagram. There's some of my stuff there, but if you want to see all of my creative endeavors, all the random crap that comes out of my head, whether it's scientific or artistic, check out my Patreon. I made a tier that's only $2 a month for those who can't quite afford anything crazy, but you'll get to see some of the weird, crazy things that come out of my head. So ryans.sinner.art, you can Google that, or just Sad and Spacey, Google that, and I'll come up. Yeah.
You don't need the fancy characters that are floating around in the name that is today. I like those, and I like it when people intertwine. Like
I put an alpha and a gamma in my name.
Yeah, it's just like okay, I've got to find that. Can you just send me that? Because but yeah, it's been wonderful. So, is there any last words you'd like to take away? Like people to take away?
Shut up and listen, and learn how to do research before you preach to do your own research.
So yes, I have been Phoebe G. Rose, and this has been season 3, episode 1 of Transition Stories. Say goodbye, Ryan.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
So this has been an Odd Tech Man and Phoebe J. Rose Productions for Transition Stories. This has been Season 3, Episode 2 of Transition Stories. And until next time, I say this at the end of each show, you only get one life. So live the best life that you can, because you don't get a do-over.